Well, welcome to C-Files, folks. Another drive along. um, these will last probably another 2 weeks, and then we'll get back into doing the screen videos on the computer. I'm going a different direction today because I got stuck in traffic yesterday, going the opposite direction. So we'll see how this route works. We're going to talk about business ethics and other things in this video. It's a shame that many people in our world today have lost any sense of ethics, and so we're going to discuss that. Going to be doing a podcast today. We tried to do one on New Year's Eve, and it flopped because we couldn't get the voice, the sound to come out of it, and it was a 2024 prediction podcast, and it's in the archives as dead in the water now. So we're going to do one today, and I'm not sure that I'm going to do a 2024 prediction one, but we'll see where it ends up. It's the Vortex Apologetic Podcast. If you want to check it out, you can. We're on Podbeam, we're on Podcast, anywhere where you can get podcast. We're there. So, all right, let me make this turn. So, ethics, business ethics. Where do they come from? How do you come up with ethics? What are ethics? And why should we have them? I'm going to give you an example as to why we should have ethics in a moment. So kind of a pragmatic example. But ethics come from God. Imagine depraved man trying to come up with ethics. Yeah. That's like a snake biting you to give you the anti-venom to keep the person alive. Don't know if that's a great example, but you get what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. Depraved man coming up with ethics is a total disaster. We can come up with our rules, but we have no moral authority, no moral standing by which to tell others that they are to abide by these rules or these laws that we make, if it's only based upon us. Because who are we? And what right does one human being have to put some kind of ethic on another human being without a higher authority making the determination that is the correct ethic, it's the right moral? And when I say a higher authority, I'm not talking about the government. If there's anything we have seen over the last 3 years, the government is not ethical. The government is not moral. The government is lousy, absolutely total failure when it comes to making ethical laws. They have completely, utterly flubbed it, okay? Total failure. Ethics and morals come from God. God is morally and ethically perfect. And he is the only highest authority, that can tell his creatures that he created, these are the morals you are to abide by. These are the ethics you are to abide by. And so he did that when he gave us his divine revelation. When you go to Exodus 20, you go to Leviticus, it's Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5, you see the beginning point of God communicating to us to help us to understand righteousness, to help us to understand ethics and morals. Okay? Now, universities today, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, are unethical and immoral. They don't teach good ethics. Matter of fact, a lot of them don't teach ethics at all. And so you have people graduating from the universities with BA degrees or marketing degrees or whatever would have to do with business, and they've never been taught any business ethics. And if they were taught business ethics, it was garbage, because it was most likely based upon diversity, equity, and inclusion, and not based upon real ethics. So total failure on the part of the universities. So if they didn't get their ethics from church or parents that had an understanding of God's ethics and taught that to their children, if that didn't happen, then you have people coming out of these schools going into business, and they have no business ethic. So, some business have ethics because the people who own the business are ethical, but a lot of people are not ethical. And when it comes to corporations, it's even more of a disaster. So, here's an example of business or lack of business ethics gone wrong. Matter of fact, total disaster. Okay? There's a Dodge dealer down in Georgia. I believe it's Matt Hike Dodge or Matt Heck Dodge. It's not H-I-K-E. I think it's H-A-I-K Dodge. Now, Dodge had their last call thing, and last call is they're not making the V8 Hemi engines any longer. And so they wanted to go out with a bang, so they made a car called the Demon 170. It's a Challenger. And this Demon 170 has over 1,000 horsepower. And it's the fastest production car ever made to go down a quarter-mile track. No production car in history, including the supercars, have covered a quarter mile down a straight line track faster than a Demon 170. It has the record. And as a matter of fact, they had to meet NHRA rules in order to send that car down the track because it was too fast. Parachute, roll cage, all of that, right? So, they made only a certain number of these cars. Now, the production has ended on them. I think it ended in July of last year. And so they've ended production. And they only had a certain number of these cars that were available to customers. And so customers were going to Dodge dealers and custom ordering these vehicles and paying an astronomical price for them. Well, the dealers caught onto a little scheme, and they decided that what they were going to do is make up fake names and fake addresses and all of this fake customers, in essence, and send that information to Dodge so Dodge can make a Demon 170 to those specifications and ship it to the dealership. So now the dealer has a car that doesn't go to any customer sitting on their showroom that is the fastest quarter-mile production car ever made. This car is so fast, matter of fact, this car, when it takes off the line at a quarter-mile track, it lifts the front tires off the ground. It literally pulls a wheelie, okay? From the factory, okay? Street car that you can drive on the street. Now, so you can imagine why people wanted these cars. People who were muscle car enthusiasts and wanted to go out and race them on the track. You can imagine they really wanted to get their hands on one of these cars. So what were the dealers doing? They were pulling their scheme on Dodge, because Dodge had it set to where, okay, you have to order it for a specific customer, and it has to be reasonable on the price within MSRP, right? You can't jack the price up sky high. Well, no, the dealers, they didn't listen to Dodge. So Matt Heck Dodge down in Georgia had ordered a few of these cars, but they had a service member who was, and I think he was in the Marines, overseas, ordered a Demon 170 to his specifications and paid $50,000 over MSRP for this car. So the car comes into the dealer, the wife goes to pick it up, only to learn that this car had been sold right under the noses of the service member that ordered the car to someone who walked into the dealership, offered more money for the car, and they sold it to him. Well, a YouTuber, I think it's Buttercup, I think that's it, anyway, he got hold of this story and went ballistic on it. And then it spread all over the car community. All these car enthusiasts that had YouTube channels picked up on this story, and folks, hell and brimstone came down on that Dodge dealer in Georgia. I mean to tell you, they tarred and feathered this Dodge dealer. First of all, these guys are patriots. They love their country, and they love the military, and a lot of them are veterans, and they would be doggone if they're going to sit back and let some car dealer mess over a fellow service member like that. So this Dodge dealer got hit hard because they were unethical. But the story doesn't end there. They tried to give the Dodge dealer an opportunity to get it right. The car enthusiast community was telling this Dodge dealer, okay, if you make it right with the customer, if you apologize to them, tell them we were wrong in what we did, we're going to make it right. We're going to work as hard as we can to get you a car that's comparable to what you had ordered, and we're not going to mark it up. That would have gone a long way toward helping out that Dodge dealer, because people like a good redemption story, right? I mean, people are forgiving. And they would have forgiven this Dodge dealer. They would still have been upset with him. But they would have said, okay, well, at least they made an attempt to make it right. Did this Dodge dealer do that? Oh, no. No. Not even close. So guess who hears about this whole fiasco? Tim Kanesis. Who is Tim Kanesis, you ask? Because I know many of you who watch these videos are not car enthusiasts, and that's perfectly fine. Tim Kanesis is the CEO of Dodge. He heard about this fiasco. And he called up the service member who was overseas at the time and said, we're going to make this right, and we're going to figure out how to do it, but we're going to make it right. Well, the cars had already gone out of production, and they were retooling the factory. There's no way to make another one. That window closed, right? So Tim Kanesis is going, man, where am I going to get a Dodge? Where am I going to get a Demon 170 for this customer who was messed over? Well, they had held back 20 Dodge Demons 170s to give to dealers who did a great job through the year. They were going to give these cars to dealers. It was a promotion that they were doing for the dealers, and there was 20 of them. Well, Tim told the dealers, guess what, guys? Sorry, promotion is over because one of your fellow dealers messed it up for everybody. And we're going to have to take one of these demons that we promised to you guys, and we're going to have to give it to this customer. So he takes a demon, he sends it off to a specialty shop. I think it was at a dealer that specialized in taking care of these changes on cars. And he had the car repainted and respec'd, the seats and everything redone, specifically how that customer, that service member, ordered the vehicle. Calls up the service member and says, we got your car for you. And the best part of it was, he tells the service member, you know that $50,000 over MSRP you were going to pay for your original car? That's gone. You're not going to pay the $50,000 over. We're going to give it to you for MSRP. But then Tim Kanesis starts thinking, and he goes, you know, that's still not good enough. You know, I mean, this is someone serving our country, you know, and we support the military, and he got messed over by one of our dealers. We got to make this even better. So he picks up the phone and he calls Jay Leno. And if you don't know about Jay Leno, I know a lot of you knew him from The Tonight Show and from his comedy routines. But if you're not familiar with his love for cars, there's a thing called Jay Leno's Garage. He has a show called Jay Leno's Garage. And he has some of the most exotic and most historic cars you've ever seen. I mean, he's got millions and millions and millions of dollars of classic cars in his garage. And he loves Dodge. Jay Leno's a big Dodge fan. So Tim picks up the phone, calls us Jay, and says, "Hey Jay, have you heard about this situation with the service member and the Demon 170? And Jay says, "Yeah." He says, "How would you like to present the car to him at Jay Leno's garage?" And Jay said, "Oh yeah. Yep, we're doing it. I'd love to do that." So when his service member gets back home, they're going to fly him out to California, to Jay Leno's garage, and present his Demon 170 to him. All right, so let's talk about the business ethics. The dealership that decided that gouging their customers for a higher profit was perfectly okay, they got creamed in this situation. They got fire and brimstone coming down upon them from heaven by the car enthusiast on YouTube, and just got slaughtered. Their reputation is utterly ruined. Whereas Tim Knesset, the CEO of Dodge, just got elevated a notch because he could have done the unethical thing and buried his head and said, "Well, you know what? That was between the dealer and the customer. The dealer, we don't control the dealers. They're our customers. So really, we have nothing to do with this. So we're just not going to bother anything. We're just going to leave it alone." He could have done that. But because Tim Knesset still has old-fashioned business ethics, he looked at the situation and said, "I don't care if we lose money on this car. What happened to this customer was wrong. It was wrong and should have never happened." And so he acted to make it right. Now I know that the car is named Demon. Got it. Well, that's satanic. Okay. They didn't name it Demon for that reason. It was a throwback to a 1971 car named Demon that was a straight line quarter-mile track car that they made in 1971. And Dodge has been doing a lot of retro vehicles. And so that was a retro vehicle that they did. When you look at the ethics that Tim Knesset demonstrated, I seriously doubt he's a demon or a Satan worshiper, okay? So let's just niche that one right now. It's just the name for the car. And why would they call it that? Well, because it's a demon. I mean, it pulls wheelies off the ground, going off the line on a quarter-mile run. It's a beast, okay? So you name it appropriately. That's why. Has nothing to do with theology, okay? So we'll get that out of the way right now. The point is, car dealers, not just Dodge, but a lot of them, and all the different manufacturers, let's drop down our speed limit's dropping. A lot of them had been gouging customers since the end of the pandemic and taking advantage of customers and selling cars at an elevated price, an inflated price. Now, Dodge was the worst of them Because these cars, like the one I'm driving now, I'm driving a 500 horsepower Challenger, we're going away. So they said, you know what? This is a golden opportunity to just make a ton of money by inflating the prices on these vehicles, because people are going to want them. They're going to be literally fighting each other to get these cars. It's high customer demand, low supply. So they said, ethics out the door, we're going to make a ton of money. But because they've done that, their reputation with the public and with the customers has crashed. Okay? Has literally crashed. So there's two aspects to the business ethics. Number one, God, who is the source of all truth and ethics and the source of all morality, says, thou shalt not steal. And when you look in the scriptures, inflating a price, gouging a customer, what the Bible calls usury, is stealing. Okay? By God's ethics, that's a form of stealing. The second reason is people recognize that they're getting gouged, or that customers are getting gouged. They're recognizing the prices are inflated. They're thinking these cars are going to be worth money 15, 20 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that they're going to get their money back out of them. Because, you know, the old muscle cars from the 70s are going through Barrett Jackson and Meacham auctions, and they're selling for incredibly inflated prices. But folks, these cars are not good investments. I'm telling you right now, they're not good investments. I do not expect, even though this is a kind of a special package that I'm driving, it's a throwback to the 1970 Challenger TA that they ran on the Trans Am track when they were racing Trans Am series in the 70s. And they had a Trans Am track version of this car that they ran in the Trans Am series, and they had to make so many production models in order to qualify to get into the series and race in the series. So this is a 2018 version of that. So you don't see very many of these on the road. But do I think I'm going to get some kind of investment money out of this car? No. I'm not that naive to think that. It's not going to happen. Okay? It's holding value pretty well, but it's just going to continue to drop in value. Okay? So people bought into this idea that these cars are going to be worth a ton of money. So they were fighting, I mean, they were competing like crazy with each other to get one of these cars. And willing to pay astronomical inflated prices to buy them. To me, it's just unethical to gouge customers on a false precept, a false concept. That's just unethical. And so that's a demonstration of how society can break down when you don't have good business ethics. Look at what the corporations have been doing. They've been pushing agendas that are anti-family, anti-children, because many of these corporations are promoting pedophilia. They're promoting drag queen shows and things of that nature. And they don't have good ethics. And as the public finds out, because a lot of the people in the country still have good ethics, they're going ballistic. And fire and brimstone comes falling down on the heads of the CEOs and the corporations that push these agendas and gouge customers. You cannot violate God's laws and not suffer the consequences. And don't give me anything about karma. Karma lives down the street, okay? And karma that lives down the street has no magical powers to affect anybody, okay? Let's just leave it there. Well, karma got him. I don't think so. It's not some generic karma. It's the personal God Almighty, that got him, okay? They violated his ethics and they suffered the consequences. So I would recommend that if you're going to go into business, or if you want to start a business, you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to work for a corporation, practice good business ethics. Be good to your customers. Don't rip them off. Make a profit. You have to make a profit, otherwise you're not going to stay in business. But make a reasonable profit. Don't inflate your prices so high that you're literally ripping off the customer. It's like when a tornado comes through or a hurricane comes through and people start inflating their prices. That's illegal. You can't do that. And the reason is because you're taking advantage of the circumstances. Well, I see these car dealers taking advantage of the circumstances. Dodge dealers, not the manufacturer. The manufacturer did the right thing. But the dealers were taking advantage of the circumstances. The last call, we're not going to make these anymore. They're gone. Better get one while you can. And they gouged their customers like crazy. And I am so happy with the YouTube car enthusiast community that said, no, that's bad ethics. We're not going to put up with that. We're going to call it out. And they've been calling out the gouging of customers for several years now. But when they gouged and sold that car out from under this service member, that was the last straw. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And they said, no, we're not doing this. And you'll find that some of these guys are Christians. And they have Christian ethics. Guys that drive cars like this. Guys that drive cars more powerful than this. Because they like the cars. But they have Christian ethics and they're saying, no, this is wrong. We're not putting up with this. We're going to call it out. So kudos to them. And kudos to Butter the Cup, I think it was. I probably got that wrong. I'm subscribed to his channel, but right now I can't remember. But he did a great job. Kudos to him and everybody else that picked up on it after that. This is how it's done, folks. If we want to get ethics back into our society, we're going to have to do what the car community did to expose that Dodge dealer. We're going to have to start calling them out loud and clear and rain fire and brimstone down upon their head. Remember Bud Light? Fire and brimstone. Thanks for watching. God bless. I'll see you next time on the C-Files.